Hey guys, I've been on the fence for a while, trying to learn as much as possible from here. I still haven't got a clear perspective on my own marriage, so I will go ahead and describe the situation and hope for your honest feedback. The basics: I'm 46, wife is 44, 2 kids, both in high school. Son has a learning disability, he's a little behind. I work as an engineer. Wife is in healthcare. We've known each other since high school but started dating in college. It's been a wonderful 19 years. Even if the last year hasn't been my favorite. Wife and I are both friendly, hardworking people. We generally like our jobs and have a good circle of friends. The kids take priority. We're very proud. I don't care if it's a cliché, wife and I are also best friends. Neither of us dated many other people. But I wouldn't be happier with anyone else. So, what's the problem? Over a year ago, wife had her hours cut back at work. This happened without warning, and she took it badly. There were a couple months of listless, unsocial behavior, mild depression, maybe. I was worried, fortunately. Wife took steps to climb out of the hole. She experimented with going to the gym, which was a first. She also used the time away from work to take local classes. Cooking, computers, etc. Finally, she got into reading a number of self-help books. Most of them dealing with the secret and law of attraction. Problem solved. This is where my confusion starts. Wife is clearly happier now. My question is, could her happiness be a threat to our marriage? The most obvious change in wife comes from working out, which she's kept doing regularly. Wife dropped 40 pounds. That's a big development. Since she was never in great shape, even when we were young. As a man, I do get certain benefits out of the situation. I'm more physically attracted to her, and more inclined to plan romantic evenings. Our love life has always been affectionate, but not necessarily hot. I think it's good to have a little more chemistry in the mix. There's an emotional benefit for her, too. Wife is normally a gregarious person. Over the last year, though, she's also become confident and assertive, which are new qualities for her. These days, wife makes the most of her slim figure by wearing nicer clothes. Fashion wasn't a priority in the past, but now she enjoys putting together nice outfits, both for work as well as casually. A lot of the outfits, in fact, are based on her workouts at the gym. First, wife was going to yoga, then Pilates, now Zumba. At this point, I've kind of lost track. I just know her classes require Lululemon-type clothing, which has led to wearing yoga pants and tank tops outside the gym, too. Wife will wear sweatpants to Starbucks, the supermarket, and various places where working out isn't even a possibility. For those who don't know, the selling point of Lycra gym clothes is they tend to really flatter a woman's rear end and legs. After losing weight, wife excels in both departments. I'm not necessarily complaining. It's just an odd situation to wrap my head around. Overall, you could say wife's lifestyle changes mainly revolve around health and personal fitness. She doesn't seem overly interested in makeup, jewelry, handbags, or material things. I've only noticed a few shoes with taller heels or fancier pairs of underwear. That might not even count, since she hardly ever wears those. Wife did get a haircut over the holidays, shorter, sportier, a few blonde highlights, but otherwise, her focus is on eating well, going to the spa, exercising, stretching, moisturizing, doing whatever it takes to feel healthy. On this side of 40, it's hard to blame wife for wanting to feel as youthful as possible. My only concern is that her new lifestyle could be interfering with her naturally beautiful personality. Here's where I start to sound crazy. I'm worried there might be a dark side to some of these books, classes, and philosophies that claim to be about self-help. For example, the motivational phrases wife has started using. Expressions like, happiness is a choice or we make our own destiny. Do they sound positive? Yeah, are they kind of true? Sure, but there can be a judgmental aspect to them, as well, like when wife tells me we can do anything we put our minds to. The underlying message is that I'm not already doing enough, or that I could somehow be better. A more serious problem involves our kids. Since they were born, wife has been an exceptional mother. Her caring personality translates easily to parenting. As I mentioned before, my son has difficulties at school, so I'm grateful wife can be so attentive with the kids. Lately, though, I've noticed her positive thinking starting to conflict with her regular parenting style. Other self-help phrases that apply to this situation include, I need to make myself a priority and I'm no good to anyone else if I can't take care of myself. The result of such attitudes, apparently, is that wife now has less time to do little activities our kids used to depend on her for. My job is pretty rigorous, but we've always managed to divide our parenting duties equally. Now it feels like I'm taking on more responsibilities at home. While wife is putting in fewer hours at work, her logic, wife has more energy when she spends time exercising, going to the spa, seeing friends, etc. Afterwards, she can be a more invested, effective parent. Makes sense. I'm not sure it does. My daughter is trying to be understanding about it. My son, who's accustomed to more support from wife, is getting confused. A less drastic change in wife's lifestyle, meanwhile, that still feels weird, involves stuff like music, iPods, computers, etc. It would be a stretch to call either me or wife hip. My favorite band is U2. Despite working in a technical field, I don't use Facebook until recently. Wife was no more sophisticated in this regard than me. Gradually, though, she's developed interests that include new music, gossip sites, Facebook, and so on. Even if it seems harmless, I feel excluded when wife sings along to some band I don't know or checks funny messages on Facebook. Truthfully, just using her iPhone has become a sore point for me. Wife didn't get a cell phone until 2007, but she will frequently zone out of our conversations now to type on her iPhone. I know everybody uses one these days, but I can't help feeling snubbed at moments like that. Wife has also made new friends at her classes, from what I hear. They're women our age who have their own husbands and families, outside of class. Wife has begun to socialize with them. Wife might watch a movie with one of them over the weekend, or they'll grab a coffee or drink together, because they aren't in our usual circle of college friends or married couples. It's hard to just invite myself along. I probably wouldn't enjoy drinking coffee with married women and discussing movies. Anyway, but I do feel badly about not hanging out with wife as much. At the same time, there's no sign of wife behaving inappropriately. She always comes home at the end of the night, except when she has to leave town for work, or for baby showers, etc. If wife does come back late after getting a drink, she'll take a shower before climbing into bed. I'm usually asleep by then, so there's no way I can notice anything incriminating. My son has complained wife's jacket smelled like smoke or wine the next morning. I explained that's what happens when you go to a place where they serve alcohol. He wasn't too reassured. Ultimately, I can't tell if wife is actually doing anything to harm our M, or if I'm just being paranoid. Another example. I feel increasingly uncomfortable when wife talks to people in public, especially males. In reality, wife has always been amiable and talkative. It's nothing new for her to get into chats with waiters, salespeople, strangers in lineups, people we ask for directions, etc. The difference, frankly, is that I suspect the men she's talking to now are coming at the conversation from a different angle. These days, wife looks like a fit, attractive woman. I know what kind of headspace that puts a man into, almost automatically, even if he's not intending to do anything wrong, and it's not her fault. Either, she isn't dressing in a provocative, attention-seeking way. There's no lipstick, eyelashes, or short skirts here. She's just wearing nice clothes that happen to flatter her skinnier figure. It can't be helped, wife is thin now, but she stayed big-chested. No one paid much attention to wife's curves when she was heavier or wore JCPenney clothes. Now, I assume guys will check her out, even if she doesn't wear push-up bras, low-cut tops, or anything like that. It's just a result of being in good shape, but it's starting to grate on me, and that's where I'm at. It's not exactly clear what I should do next. I'm of the opinion that relationships thrive in an open, trusting environment. Also, breathing down wife's neck with a lot of prying questions probably won't make her feel more invested in our M. So how do I raise these issues and not seem petty or controlling? There's no evidence, or even probable grounds, to prove that wife's done anything wrong. So, what can I say to express my concerns, without accusing her, or backing her into a corner? Are there any subtle, respectful lines of questioning I can get into that won't sound nosy or presumptuous? To put our relationship in context again, wife is still the same lovely woman I married more than 60% of the time. It's only occasional moments, when she says or does something out of character, that leave a bad taste in my mouth. Please let me know what you think. Any feedback will be appreciated, since I'm honestly struggling here. Apart from what's happening with wife, I've always felt the same, which is pretty good, despite the economy. I've advanced at work, and self-doubt has never been an issue for me, ironically, between the two of us. Wife has tended to be the more neurotic one. Comments, she has an iPhone, so after checking her cell bill if you find numbers you're unaware of or seem suspicious, you can see her actual text by accessing the backup file on the computer she syncs her phone with. This includes deleted texts. It's possible she could be chatting with people via third-party apps that leave no trail. If that's the case, you're out of luck unless you install spyware on her phone. I understand you don't want to dig into her private life on Paranoia alone, but the feelings you're describing sound like what I felt, and once I finally dug into the details, I found things I would never have imagined. Many here have. VAR in car is good. Check those text logs, and do your best to not show yourself as concerned and needy. Do your own thing and don't hang on her. Her new friends and potential male suitors aren't doing that, and you'll seem clingy. Work out, feel more confident, and try to take your wife most of the time instead of a weekly feel alone. How you act now determines how your next months and years are going to play out. Good luck. I chose trap shooting over the motorcycle. Take your pick, shake things up, and don't try to make things the way they used to be. Make them the way you want them. Talk about your relationship when she brings it up only. Otherwise, do your own thing and start steeling yourself for possible big changes. One person changing in a relationship is bad. You need to keep up or outdo her. If she isn't on board, you were host to begin with. Good luck, sir. OP responds, I'm still uncertain about the other ideas, talking to wife about boundaries or snooping on her with digital equipment. As an engineer, I could probably get in her phone. My problem is the ethical decision to go ahead and look into her things. Your consensus seems to be that I should investigate her phone and internet habits, as a first resort, before bringing up any marriage concerns with her. If most people here believe that's the wisest option, I'll try bringing myself around to doing it. Our marriage so far indicates wife has very good boundaries about honesty, fairness, loyalty, and respect. Blatant flirting from other guys is new, but I think her core values would allow her to shut them down easily. We have frequent movie nights at home, which I put effort into making as nice as possible. Going to restaurants happens about once per month. Going to a concert or parties with friends happens less often, a few times a year. I could look at something unimportant on wife's iPhone screen, like how much signal she has. I tried it. Wife gave me a quizzical look, then asked why I wanted to. I had to justify my question. Wife casually said, I have 4 bars. That was it. I was the one who came across acting weird. I'm getting closer to just investigating her phone bill. I'm also going to suggest we visit her gym together, so I can use the treadmill. I'll wait a day or two for the awkwardness of the iPhone question to subside. In the meantime, I've already purchased new racquetball equipment and gym clothes at Walmart. I should clarify that it's not a matter of wife looking so hot. She is still a 44-year-old woman who wears glasses and barely puts on makeup. She has certain impressive physical traits that have recently become more evident, but it's not like she's Jane Mansfield strutting around in a red dress. The gym is co-ed. As far as I know, the instructors are women. Any anecdote I can remember about an instructor has involved references to she and her. I am aware it's important to be a more confident, active, interesting man now. The one qualifier is that wife is not some cheerleader type who swoons at the possibility of riding on the back of a motorbike. There's a reason why we gravitated to each other in college. Wife was friendly, studious, even nerdy. She liked intelligent, quirky guys. If I packed on too much muscle or took up too many macho hobbies, I'd actually be getting farther away from her ideal type. There also seems to be a misunderstanding with regard to how wife presents herself. Recently, I said that she looks healthier, more attractive, and wears more stylish, higher quality clothes. Somehow, this got exaggerated into a view that she's making herself look hot or sexy. Again, wife does not wear short skirts, fake nails, low-cut tops, or even that much makeup. Her outfits for work are tasteful and professional. Believe it or not. I understand this is a forum for raw conversations, so I'm not offended. I just don't think the hyperbole will help to analyze my situation as accurately as possible. Having said that, I went ahead and looked at one of wife's phone records while she was at the gym yesterday. I'll leave out the description of how conflicted I felt looking through her things. In the end, there were a few texts and calls to different numbers that I couldn't match up with my own records. They're probably friends from class or work, whose contact details I don't have on file. No one number stood out as being contacted more frequently than the rest. Except for my own phone and our landline. The kids are out tomorrow night, so I'm considering using the opportunity to talk privately with wife. Asking some of the questions you guys suggest. We're supposed to have a movie night at home, but I think that can lead into a conversation where I ask about all the fun activities she's involved in lately. Purely out of curiosity, I could ask whether they offer personal training services at her gym. I could also ask about the restaurants where she's had wine with friends. I could get her to tell me about these places in detail, in order to decide if we should visit any of them as a couple. Let me know if you can think of more casual, low-key questions like this that I can ask tomorrow. As planned, I tried casually bringing up a few relationship questions with wife before settling in to watch a movie last night. Apparently, wife had 4 gym instructors from her different classes, one of whom was male. None of them did one-on-one training. Besides restaurants, wife's friends have gone to at least one bar to get drinks. A martini bar that's popular with the 30-plus crowd. I tried making a joke based on our son's comment that wife's jacket smelled like cigarettes when she came back from one of these places. I wanted to see her reaction, but the joke sounded more insulting than funny. And wife suggested we just watch the movie at that point, by the time I mentioned visiting the gym together. The tone of the conversation had become strained. Wife must have sensed that my gym idea was related to other questions I'd asked and seemed uncomfortable with me wanting to sit in on her workouts. I segued into a few lighter topics and then dropped the conversation entirely. So, wife went out last night, after a tense chat Friday. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I was going to be at a game with our son until early evening. Anyway, so I couldn't really object, without telling her. I did make a point of staying awake until she got home. She came in around 12, I was still downstairs watching TV, which surprised her. I asked if everyone had a fun night, which also seemed to confuse her. When I playfully suggested our evening didn't have to end there, wife said she was going to wash up and go to bed. I could join her when I wanted. I left it at that, not giving her a hard time about the shower. I did go to the closet, though, to follow up on what my son had been saying. Sure enough, wife's jacket smelled like a bar. Not sure that counts as great detective work on my part, by the time I finished my show and joined her upstairs. Wife was asleep. To point out another theme that bothers me here, shouldn't an athletic, self-help lifestyle be incompatible with doing activities that involve drinking? Smoking? Wife doesn't smoke, but given her recent interest in healthiness, shouldn't she and her friends want to avoid any place as unhealthy as a bar? For wife, I won't sit back and do nothing. It's a matter of picking the lesser of two evils. 1. Going further than inspecting wife's phone records and actually planting a spy device in her car. 2. Having an upfront talk about the parameters of our like what social activities are unacceptable when we don't do them together. People have made good points on both sides. Nobody knows the situation better than me, though. So I will ultimately have to weigh the pros and cons and decide. To clarify, wife went for a drink with one friend, who as far as I know is married. She got back at 12, was I concerned? Yes, especially after reading about people's experiences on this site. But I can guarantee you she wasn't grind dancing during the course of the night. Maybe other people have dealt with such situations in real life. But it's not realistic in my case. We're talking about a 44-year-old who had 2 left feet in college and would usually turn red when I got her dancing at a wedding. The more likely scenario is that she spent the night gossiping with another 40-something woman at a yuppie restaurant. What upsets me is that we didn't spend the night together. I will definitely set aside time to decide on a course of action today. Either I'm going to purchase a VAR, or I will come up with a series of issues to raise in a frank discussion with wife about boundaries. Part 1. I'm taking wife out for a romantic date tonight. We'll grab Italian food at a cozy restaurant we both like, then wind our way through the surrounding neighborhood, taking in the sights while we walk downtown. I already have a nice bottle of wine chilling at home, if everything goes well. We'll have more refreshments when we come home, then hopefully get frisky later. Part 2. I'll pick up a VAR. I found a local store where I can buy one for cash. So there will be no record of it being shipped to our home. Date night went well. The food was excellent, even if I had to get assertive and tell wife to put away her phone during the meal. It stopped raining in time for our walk, so downtown felt very fresh. Lit up by the buildings and streetlights, we skipped the chilled wine, going right upstairs for a quick but effective session in bed. We were both so satisfied afterward that we fell into a deep sleep. Saturday nights aren't officially for girl nights out, but whatever. Recently, it's just worked out that way. This weekend was an example of how it can be hard putting my foot down. How am I supposed to tell wife she can't go see her friend, when we already had a perfectly nice evening the day before? And I'm spending part of the night doing activities with the kids. Saturday, wife ended up watching The Great Gatsby with the same friend from last week. Around 10, she texts to ask if it disrupted me when she came home late last Saturday. She also asks how much longer I'm planning to stay up. This was odd, in the sense that wife rarely texts me. I wrote back saying I would go to bed shortly. In reality, I stayed up reading so that I could be awake whenever she got in. She came home around 11:30 earlier than last week. My first impression was that she was dressed nicely for watching a film, taking Machiavelli's advice. I quizzed wife about the plot, the performances, etc. She could discuss them in detail but was annoyed I wanted her to do so. I asked whether she and her friend did any other activities after watching the movie. Wife explained that they got a coffee and talked about the film. She said it sarcastically, implying that she shouldn't need permission to do something so ordinary. The VAR was installed Wednesday morning. Everything went smoothly. But now I worry wife will find the device and things will spiral downward. At least I've taken action, though. How long does it usually take to pick up relevant info this way? As far as exercise, I've signed up for an alumnus gym membership at my old college. I'll be able to play racquetball, as well as do cardio and free weight exercises at a campus near our house. This is better than trying to get involved at wife's gym. She's already shown discomfort with my interest in her recreational activities. So I'd prefer to just stay dark while letting the VAR do its thing. 1 week later, still nothing of interest happening on the VAR, except wife playing top 40 music in the car. Those recordings are difficult to listen to, for purely G-rated reasons, on weeknights. It's also hard finding time to hit the gym while still looking after the kids. I'll only put in one night this week but hope to adjust my schedule so I can go more regularly in the future. I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone on Saturday by having a romantic date with wife. The plan is to keep her from seeing other friends that night, which has become a pattern lately. I checked that the kids are okay doing their own thing and made reservations at a restaurant wife has mentioned before. This way, there will be a solid reason for wife to break any plans she's made with girlfriends. I told her about it Monday, and she agreed without much resistance. Things got worse the next day when I mentioned a date idea for Friday, watching a local theater company. Wife wasn't pleased. She asked if this was a little much. On top of our Italian dinner, our walk downtown, and my sudden interest in buying sports gear and playing racquetball, she wondered what was going on with me. When I tried using self-improvement language to explain that I was making a choice to bring more excitement into our lives, wife just smiled half-heartedly. For reasons I don't fully understand, this really bothered me. It ticked me off even worse as I kept thinking about it during the day. Which brings us to Wednesday. I was making dinner with the kids while wife took a shower after yoga class. I wanted to show my daughter an article from the paper, which I'd left in our bedroom. Wife was still in the shower when I went upstairs. As I walked into the room, I noticed her phone vibrate. She'd left it on the nightstand. I chose to do something out of character and went over to look. I saw the tail end of a text message coming from Sylvia. Lol, just as a second text appeared. I read the second one in full. It's worth it when you get so many compliments. I grabbed the newspaper and went downstairs before wife could find me looking at her phone. I still haven't discussed this with wife. I know Sylvia is her girlfriend, and the message was ambiguous enough, but I've felt strangely preoccupied since reading it. I will have to work extra hard at being in a lively, confident mood for our date night Saturday. Our date Saturday was enjoyable enough. The restaurant was pricey, but wife seemed to like the fusion food. She was a little on edge after a conversation we had a couple days before. I'd asked her about not wanting to go out on Friday, without saying so directly. I was worried she still wanted to see her girlfriends. Wife said she didn't really feel like hanging out with anyone Friday. She was off work and looked forward to relaxing around the house while the rest of us were at school. Work, as long as she wasn't seeing friends. I thought this was reasonable and dropped the issue. Nothing bad happened on our date Saturday. There was enough tension in the air that we didn't get carried away by romance or have great bonding. Wife ended up staying home Friday night, too, reading a book and doing work on her computer. My son made me aware of something this morning, however. His school let out early on Friday, so he came home around lunchtime to find wife getting ready to go shopping. She was wearing a sweatshirt. No makeup, with her hair tied back in a scrunchie. Surprisingly, she was also wearing a short style of jean shorts. Maybe they're in fashion now. But wife hasn't worn anything like that around us before. She seemed in a hurry to leave, and didn't ask my son why he was home, what his plans were, whether he needed a drive anywhere, etc. He said she might have been upset that one of us came home when she was supposed to have the house to herself. He thought it was more likely she just felt embarrassed about wearing those shorts, though. The house was empty by the time wife came home again. She spent the rest of the night upstairs, wearing sweat clothes and keeping to herself in our room. On another front, I contacted the divorced guy I know. He was keen to be in the area the next time wife went out with friends, before their next outing. I subtly gathered as much information as I could from wife. It wasn't easy, since she's become increasingly suspicious about my interest in her personal life. I found out what place they were going, what time, and for approximately how long. Based on these details, my friend arranged to pass by and report anything out of the ordinary. Wife said they were going to a martini bar she's mentioned before. My friend got there early and parked across the street. With a clear view of the entrance, he stayed in touch by phone, true to her word. Wife showed up around 9. She and another woman were dressed in an upscale, somewhat conservative way. My friend was prepared to stay a while, since wife told me she wouldn't be home before 11. An hour later, they were already leaving. My friend saw them go around the corner to another parking lot, as he was starting his car. They appeared out front again. Both women were now missing their blazer jackets, wearing only the blouses they'd had on underneath. He also noticed they were wearing taller shoes than when they first walked out of the bar. Within minutes, a taxi came to pick them up. My friend followed behind. They only drove a couple blocks before stopping in front of a nondescript building with a lineup outside. They waited in line for 10 minutes. Wife's friend went over to speak with a security guy up front. After a short conversation, she waved to wife and they entered the building. My friend felt uncomfortable parking outside what was evidently a nightclub. The bouncers seemed vigilant, and he thought they would eventually notice him, based on the people in the lineup. He also didn't stand a chance of getting past security and seeing what was happening inside. We decided it wasn't a good idea for me to drive over there either. I said he should leave and I would talk to wife when she came home. Wife got in shortly after 1. I pretended to be asleep but was actually wide awake. She was back to wearing the outfit with the blazer and the normal shoes. She looked alert, not tipsy. I didn't show my hand. I acted like she woke me up and groggily asked her how the night went. Wife's response was brief, good, we had fun. She got edgier when I asked, at the martini place. Another short answer, yes, is that all right? I had already decided not to confront her, but couldn't stop asking more questions. Cool. Just the bar. She became irritated, almost to a level I hadn't experienced before. Wife replied with her back to me, changing out of her clothes and asking why I cared so much about every little move she made lately. I told her I just wondered how her night had been. Oh well, and we went dancing, she said, as though this were perfectly normal, and I was a jerk for interrogating her about it. I responded with a surprised look, which was fake. I then asked wife when going out dancing became something she enjoyed doing, which was a sincere question. She said something like, "It's called trying new things. Not everybody has to stay in their comfort zone all the time." The last comment sounded more like an attack on me, rather than an explanation of her behavior. For the sake of staying dark, I left it there. We went to bed, and I haven't had any tough discussions with wife since then. In fact, I've been semi-paralyzed. The agitation I've felt has made it easier to work out at the gym. At least. I sat wife down for a talk last night. I got real with her. For the sake of our family. I said going out solo with friends had to stop. If she wanted to go to clubs, lounges and places like that, we could go as a couple. Wife said she would rather not go at all. I told her that was fine. Initially, she got furious, even when I emphasized that it was for the good of our relationship and our kids. Later, she started crying. She told me, "They said you would act this way. You don't want me to have any life outside this safe boring routine. I pointed out that I was happy to bring exciting activities into our lives, but we should do it together. No matter how logical my comments were, I knew she was going to leave the conversation unhappy. We agreed there would be no more coming home past midnight. She was going to continue her activities at the gym and occasionally socialize during the day, but no more girl night outs. After reaching this compromise, wife still went away sulking. She's already canceled tentative plans with a girlfriend for the weekend, but seems resentful about it, and hasn't been receptive to planning any dates with just the two of us. I will be patient, since I know wife has to make a big adjustment now. Hopefully, the lack of girl night outs will eventually bring her out of the fog so she can focus on our marriage again. For my part, I'm happy that I took a stand. I will let you know how everything progresses from here. I feel stuck. Wife's activities aren't exactly hurting anyone, and they do have positive aspects, so why do they give me negative feelings? Maybe wife going dancing with a friend wasn't the worst thing ever. Maybe letting my friend follow them in his car was out of line. All I know is I'm doing the best I can to hold on to my marriage. It's understandable that wife isn't in good spirits, since we've totally upended her social routine. She didn't want to do any of the activities I suggested this weekend. She just stayed home, sleeping, reading, working on her laptop, obviously. She's pouting, but I'm trying to deal with it in a better way. I'm not apologizing, getting mad, seeking approval, or rewarding bad behavior. I'm keeping an even keel, staying active, and treating her respectfully whenever she chooses to be in a good mood. One of the problems I can't fix by treating wife in a detached way, however, involves her relationship with our kids. 2 examples already cropped up this week. The first happened when my son and his friends spent Saturday night playing video games at home. By Saturday, wife was starting to feel really insulted about not being allowed to see her friends. According to my son, she walked through the den on her way to the kitchen, tripping over some cables they'd left on the floor. Wife sarcastically said, like it would be the worst thing if anyone ever got out of the house around here. After she left, my son's friend mentioned to him, I never knew your mom was such a big reality check. Since wife used to be the queen of birthday parties and sleepovers for our kids' circle of friends. The second example happened when wife and our daughter went shopping. According to my daughter, they were walking through the mall when a guy in baggy clothes made a joke. Passing the other way, he pointed to a store and said, hit that 2-for-1 sale, ladies. Since you're like sisters and like sharing clothes and crap, my daughter said he was overly loud and sketchy. Her natural response was to ignore the comment and keep walking. Wife, on the other hand, sarcastically told him, better get your eyes checked, buddy. My daughter started walking even faster, trying to show wife the best way of dealing with creeps at the mall. When she turned around, however, wife was still in the same place. Impatiently listening to the creep, wife finally noticed her waiting up ahead and walked forward. Wife rolled her eyes, as if to say, could you believe that guy? Baggy pants guy just stood there, openly checking wife out from behind. My daughter found it odd that wife seemed so upset about being accosted, but then walked away slowly. Wife acted like they were both equally annoyed by the guy's behavior. My daughter didn't explain that the more surprising part was actually wife's reaction. They never discussed it again. At the end of the day, wife appears to be complying with the terms we agreed to on Tuesday, and I am able to curb some of her sulking behavior by taking a firm, detached approach. Part of her stress could be getting displaced onto the kids, though, which would be unfair as well as difficult for me to manage. I'm taking it one day at a time, and we'll just have to see what this week has in store. My comment. Ending coming tomorrow. Don't worry, it won't be a 10-part story, lol, but I kind of enjoyed that story. Anyways, if you haven't watched the 10-part story, check it out in my channel, and I will bring you the ending of this story tomorrow morning. Sub and bell and you might be surprised by the ending.